MOBAs are a very well-established genre by now, with two of the most popular multiplayer titles of all time being MOBA games. But something that always bugged me about MOBAs is the movement. Clicking to make your character walk around at a snail's pace is just really boring to me. But fortunately, that's where Valve comes along, and they say, hey, so I heard you like movement. There's this neat little game called Deadlock. It's made by Valve, it runs in a version of the Source engine, and it has an emphasis on movement. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yeah, you know this game's gonna go crazy. Deadlock, like many other Source games, has a very simple set of core movement mechanics, but those mechanics interact with each other in unbelievable ways, ranging from getting big height off of a wall jump to accelerating infinitely fast in any given direction. Wanna know how it works? Of course you do. So let me explain everything there is to know about Deadlock's movement. Now let's get to it. This first part of the video is going to go over the basics of Deadlock's movement, but if you've already spent a bunch of time playing Deadlock, you might enjoy this video more if you skip to this timestamp. Deadlock's movement has a few very simple core mechanics. Deadlock has dashes, jumps, and slides. This is a dash jump. It's performed by dashing and then pressing jump shortly afterwards. This is significantly faster than walking, or dashing along the ground normally. Just landing on the ground after a dash jump and starting to walk again immediately eats all of your speed. But if you hold crouch after your dash jump, you'll start sliding along the ground. Sliding is something that your character does automatically when holding crouch, so long as you're traveling above a certain speed. That speed is not very high, and some characters' base walk speeds are fast enough to immediately start a slide just by crouching. But no matter what character you're playing, you can slide out of a dash and you can slide out of a dash jump. You can also slide out of a mantle. Going up to a ledge and holding space will mantle that ledge, and holding crouch right as you mantle will instantly put you into a slide. And sliding is the main way we maintain our speed in Deadlock. Now, if you hold slide for too long while on the ground, you will start rapidly losing all of your speed. Even if you were traveling insanely fast, holding slide for too long will decrease your speed to 0 in about a second. To avoid this, you want to perform a slide hop. Simply slide along the ground with some amount of speed, hold the slide for a moment, then jump out of that slide. You can chain slide hops together for as long as you have the speed to do so. If you manage to keep up your speed, you can do this literally forever. There is a timing to this. If you jump out of a slide too late, you lose a bunch of speed from the slide while on the ground. And if you jump out of the slide too early, the game gives you a very big speed penalty to punish your bad timing. This is likely an attempt from Valve to try and avoid the mistakes of their past with games like Counter-Strike, where you could bunny hop around at 1 billion miles an hour. They want you to lose some of your speed to slide friction before you start b-hopping around like Foon. Sliding down a slope will accelerate you up to a certain speed. It will also let you hold your slide without losing speed for as long as you're on that slope. Slopes like these all around the map are very useful for carrying your speed across long distances. As you start to lose some of your speed to slide friction, you can regain it again by hitting a slope. Sliding and slide hopping is the most basic form of traversal in Deadlock, and this should be the first thing that you learn. You can also double jump in Deadlock, so while slide hopping around, you can double jump to get up to higher ground without necessarily losing a lot of your speed. But the basics of Deadlock movement don't end there. We also have Walljumps. Simply jumping into a wall and then jumping again whilst touching it will perform a wall jump. Wall jumps are possible any time that you're touching a wall while airborne. The direction your camera is facing and the buttons you press on your keyboard when you press jump will affect the direction of your wall jump. If you want to wall jump away from the wall, angle your mouse outwards and hold the strafe button away from it. If you want to jump into the wall, do the opposite. You can slide along the wall for a long time, and hugging the wall like this will drastically slow your falling speed, so wall jump timing is very lenient. Wall jumps can be chained into each other, but spamming wall jumps in quick succession doesn't work. Every subsequent wall jump will be weaker than the last if you just spam jump. You need to leave some time between your wall jumps to get full-sized wall jumps repeatedly. But now we can combine this with our slide hopping from earlier. Chain that into even more slide hops and wall jumps, and you've got a pretty effective way to travel around the map really fast. Now, we can also dash whilst we're in the air. Once you leave the ground, you can air dash once, twice if you have the item Stamina Mastery. Dashing on the ground resets your speed, no matter how fast or slow you were going. So if you're traveling fast on the ground, pressing dash will actually slow you down rather than speed you up. But air dashing is able to add to your speed, letting you carry your speed for a lot longer to make even faster routes through the map. But you might have noticed in these clips that I'm always air dashing at an angle rather than in the direction I'm facing. This is because air dashing at an angle accelerates you faster than air dashing in a straight line. And the faster you are currently moving, the more sharp of an angle you need to dash away from the direction of travel to keep gaining speed. The reason for this is a little bit complicated, so I'll leave it for now. But all you need to know is that when you air dash, you want to hold either left or right and then dash at an angle. At slower speeds, try to dash at shallower angles, and at faster speeds, angle the dash a lot more harshly. Oftentimes when you're doing some sort of route through the map, you'll find yourself just barely coming up short on distance to reach your destination. Well, there's one more trick up your sleeve, and that's a heavy melee. Deadlock has melee mechanics. You can light melee to do these quick low damage punches, or you can heavy melee to do a big telegraphed punch. And this heavy melee gives you distance, and it will also do this even while airborne. Heavy melees can't be used to gain any speed. The end of the heavy melee will reset your velocity to basically zero. But at the very end of a movement string, you can heavy melee to get that last bit of distance. Deadlock also has these zip lines. It's what you'll be hanging off of at the start of every game, and it's the main way that you get back to lane. The zip line can be used to carry speed in any direction you choose. The trick is that when you leave the zip line, you don't want to press jump, you instead want to leave it by pressing crouch. Jumping off the zipline resets your speed to around about walking speed, but crouching off the zipline maintains the momentum of the zipline. Up to a point anyway. Crouching off the zipline also has another very strange property. Normal air dashes will accelerate you up to a certain speed, but at the end of the air dash, you will lose 20% of the speed that you gained. But crouching off of a zipline gives you a 2-second window where your air dashes will not have this 20% penalty. So grabbing a zipline, crouching off of it, and then dashing at an angle like this gives you a huge burst of speed. This is called a zip dash, and it is one of the most easy and effective ways to gain speed in the entire game. Mastering these is just as important as mastering the rest of what we've talked about, because they are a free source of speed that you can carry around with the rest of your movement fundamentals. Practice zip dashing and then carrying that speed for as long as possible with your slide hops and wall jumps. Now there's also tick perfect zip dashes. These occur when you crouch off of the zip line at the exact same game tick that you grabbed it. Doing this gives you a huge burst of speed, much more than a normal zip dash, but they're extremely precise and insanely hard to do on purpose. Now some people have found lineups to do tick perfect zip dashes, but I'm not going to talk about that here, but I'll link a video in the description that does talk about it if you're interested. So with all the stuff that we've talked about, we can already get moving pretty fast. It sounds like a lot to remember, but when you start practicing it, I promise you it's not. These core mechanics are simple at their surface, but combining them in creative ways will allow you to fly around the map incredibly quickly. But there is a catch, and that catch is stamina. Every single character in the game has stamina. Most characters have 3 stamina by default, but some start with 2 and some start with 4. You can buy items to get extra stamina. Many of the actions we just talked about require stamina. Dashing on the ground or in the air costs 1 stamina bar. Your double jump costs a stamina bar. Dash jumping costs 2 stamina bars. Your first wall jump after leaving the ground is free, but every wall jump after the first costs half a stamina bar. And there's also downwards dashing, performed by tapping crouch twice while in the air, and this costs half a stamina bar. You'll notice though that jumping once, slide hopping, wall jumping, and using the zipline cost no stamina whatsoever. This means that you can use your stamina to gain your speed, then use your slide hops and wall jumps to maintain that speed, which gives you time to regen your stamina. Then you use your stamina to regain your speed again, and you repeat forever and ever. This also emphasizes how insanely powerful zip dashing is. Grabbing a zipline, crouching, and then dashing off of it costs 1 stamina, and it gains enormous speed and enormous height basically for free. But there's just one more thing you need to know. Something incredibly vital if you want to master the movement fundamentals of Deadlock. And it's something that's existed in every Source game since the late 90s, and that is air strafing. Air strafing is a fundamental part of every Source game's movement, other than Dota, I guess. It allows you to not just turn in the air, but to also gain speed while doing it. A YouTuber known as SK has a Deadlock movement guide, and this video has maybe the best explanation of air strafing that I think I've ever heard. And I've been playing Source games for my entire life, so I'm gonna straight up steal her explanation of it because it's incredibly intuitive and easy to understand. But go check out her video because she is the genius behind this explanation. Go into Deadlock and do your normal dash jumps, but as you do it, let go of W the moment you leave the ground. You'll notice that you gain the exact same speed as when you held W. Now do the same thing and do your slide hops afterwards, making sure to not hold W at any point after your dash jump. If you time it all right, the speed gain from this is exactly the same as when you hold W to do it. This is because holding W in the air or during a slide does not change how fast you move in the direction you're facing. The W key only moves you forward whilst you are walking along the ground. Now, go into your base and stand in front of your patron facing away from it, and try and walk in a circle around the patron while only holding A. Take note of how fast you need to move your mouse to do this. It's slow, but it's not too slow. You'll also notice that the cleanest circle that you can draw requires you to move your mouse very smoothly. Once you get a good one, do the same thing, but to the right instead. Once you're comfortable with these circles, then try this. Walk forward, double jump, and then hold D and move your mouse to the right in the exact same way as you did when you were drawing circles on the ground. You'll notice that you turned while in the air. Do the same while holding A just to make sure you understand it. This is an air strafe. Whenever you want to turn in the air, this is how you do it. It is the single most important part of moving around in any Source game, even more important than everything else that we've talked about before now. You'll notice that anytime I do anything movement related, if I'm in the air, I am also air strafing. Because air strafing not only allows you to turn while in the air, but it also literally makes you move faster. Air strafing causes you to gain velocity, and the smoother your strafes, the faster they'll make you go. Now, if you've played other Source games, you'll notice that the air strafing speeds in Deadlock are a lot slower than other Source games. In a game like TF2, the faster classes can turn their mouse in the air basically as fast as they want, and they'll still get a good strafe. But in Deadlock, you need to do these much smaller, shallower turns to get good strafes. But certain characters, items, and abilities have extra air strafe control. So although the air control speeds are low in Deadlock, the air strafing speeds will sometimes change based on your circumstances, forcing you to learn more than one strafe speed, which can be tricky at first. These are the movement fundamentals of Deadlock, and they can be combined together to make incredible things happen. Once you've got these fundamentals down, you will find yourself seeing the map in a whole new light. The possibilities are truly endless. The number of routes to get from one place to another are innumerable, and the skill ceiling is insanely high. Make sure to go to the play table and click Explore NYC to practice movement in the map that you play the game on. Just try and get from one place to another for an hour or two. Just this little bit of practice alone will do wonders for your movement in a real match. And this is just with the basics of Deadlock's movement. There's a whole lot more to uncover here that goes far beyond the basic mechanics. So let's get into them, shall we? The two most important pieces of movement tech that you need to know about are Cornerboosts and Edgeboosts. Let's start with Cornerboosts. Wall jumping in Deadlock has a small grace period after you leave the wall where you're still able to wall jump. If you press spacebar a frame too late after you leave a wall, Valve still gives you the wall jump, because they're nice like that. But that has a very interesting interaction with the corners of walls. On corners like these, you can slide over the corner of the wall, and right after you leave the end of the wall, you can wall jump off thin air right on this corner. Doing this gives you a burst of speed, much more speed than a regular wall jump. Because of the way corner boosts work, surfaces like these can be corner boosted by pressing spacebar just once. The floor and the wall are flush with each other, which means that when you've just left the wall, you've also just left the ground from your slide. So you're now airborne, so pressing space does a wall jump off of the corner of the wall. There's spots to do this all over the place, especially with mantle slides, so look out for them. The reason corner boosts work is effectively because the game stacks the boost from this wall and this wall at the same time to create a new speed vector that's sort of diagonal to the two walls like this. This gives more speed in the direction of travel, compared to a normal wall jump, which gives you more speed perpendicular to the direction of travel. So when you're trying to wall jump to preserve speed, try to wall jump as late as physically possible at the very end of your walls. The faster you're going, the more powerful corner boosts are, because they preserve your current speed much more effectively than a regular wall jump. Although remember that the map geometry doesn't always line up with what you can actually see. This spot is a great example of this. This wall has a cutout right here, but the collision of this wall extends past the cutout. So when you do a corner boost off of this wall, you need to jump much later than you might expect. There's also edge boosting that works a little bit like this. Edges like these, where a wall meets a floor, you can wall jump on the very edge of the wall to get a huge boost in height from the wall jump. This can be done on most edges in the entire map. Some edges are much harder to edge boost than others. Edge boosts like this are pretty hard to do, but they're very heavily rewarded by conserving more speed and giving you more height. And there are some spots in the map where you can edge boost automatically. This valley area on either side of the map has these lips that run across the wall. They can be edge boosted off of if you time your jump right, and the walls around them will funnel you into the edge boost. As long as you're hugging this wall, the edge boost will be lined up perfectly, so all you need to do is time your jump press. There's also these railings around the map. If you mantle over the railing, then let go of all of your movement keys and time your jump input correctly, you will get an edge boost every single time. If you want to mantle over these smaller fences, just holding space won't work. You need to melee and then start holding space. There's actually a ton of spots that you can do these automatic edge boosts. Way too many to show you in this video. So go explore NYC and try it yourself, because there's a bunch of them to find. The edges of surfaces like these behave in a very strange way in Deadlock. You can actually surf the edges of objects like this, in much the same way that you can surf ramps in other Source games to preserve all your speed. Some edges are much harder to surf than others, but if you can surf the edge, you can edge boost it. So timing an edge boost correctly requires you to wall jump whilst you are in this surfing state, which means when you're falling towards an edge and you want to edge boost, the timing is much more precise the faster you're falling. But falling at slower speeds gives you a lot more leeway to hit the edge boost. Now, to any experienced Deadlock players out there, there's an elephant in the room right now. If you've watched other Deadlock content, you might have heard people call this an edge boost, and this a corner boost. But I, personally, refuse to participate, because this is clearly an edge and not a corner. How do I know that this is an edge and not a corner? Because this is an edge bug, a bug that happens when you fly towards an edge with some amount of speed and graze over that edge in such a way that the game doesn't think you touched the ground. It redirects your movement at an angle away from the edge, and in Source games that have it, it prevents you taking fall damage. It's called an edge bug, and they have existed in the source engine since 1998, and the term edgebug was coined around 2006 by Counter-Strike KZ players. You don't get to just show up in the big 2026 and call this a corner. So I will die on this hill. From this point on, I will call this an edge boost and this a corner boost. I apologize for any confusion, but like, someone's got to put their foot down at some point. It may as well be me. But corner boosts and edge boosts are vital for advanced movement routes throughout the map. If you want a good way to practice them, then try this. Take this vent from mid towards the side lane. Slide along this bridge and then corner boost off of this wall. Then, as you fly towards the ground, try and hit an edge boost somewhere in the valley down here. There's a bunch of them to aim for, so go for whatever your speed dictates. This launchpad route is also very useful to practice another type of tech that we haven't talked about yet, and that's a wall boost. Air dashing at an angle is faster than air dashing in a straight line. If you're touching a wall, then air dashing at an angle against the wall like this gives your air dash more speed than a regular air dash. Even more speed than an angled air dash in open space. The reason this works is super complicated, and I don't really understand it myself, so I'm not going to go over it. But it works for a similar reason to why air strafing generates speed. But what this means is that characters like Celeste and Holliday, who have access to higher air control, get more speed out of wall boosting than other characters. With the item Stamina Mastery, you can also chain multiple wall boost dashes on the same wall. Wall boosting twice after taking a Holliday jump pad will give you absolutely ludicrous amounts of speed up against the wall. This can be thrown into this launchpad route very easily. This wall right here is perfect for your wall boosts, allowing you to carry a ton more speed into your rotation to the side lane. You can even wall boost into a corner boost, which gives you a huge amount of speed. After some practice, you'll start seeing these three boosts everywhere, and you'll start seeing how useful they can be. Now, one of the biggest benefits of these three pieces of tech is that they're very stamina efficient. A wall boost costs 1 stamina bar, and the other two are Walljumps, which means they cost half a stamina bar at worst, and are free at best. And good stamina management is one of the most important parts of Deadlock movement. It doesn't matter how good your movement is if you waste all of your stamina too early and then get caught and die for it. There's many different techs that allow you to use less stamina for more speed. One of the most basics is called a short hop. Whilst dashing along the ground, you can cancel the dash early by holding crouch into a slide, but doing this typically comes with some speed penalties. But crouching like this also resets the dash jump timing, so if you dash, then tap crouch and immediately jump afterwards, this will do a short hop. It's essentially like a baby dash jump. It doesn't go as high, or as fast, or as far as a dash jump, but it only costs 1 stamina, and it's faster than just dashing into a slide. Holding crouch for too long will slow you down a lot when you do a short hop, so you want to tap crouch for as short a window as possible. Binding your scroll wheel to crouch is a good way to avoid these speed penalties. Just tick your scroll wheel down just once mid-dash, and then jump immediately afterwards. Jumping as fast as possible after the crouch is very important, otherwise you'll still get some amount of slowdown. This piece of tech isn't super ubiquitous, but it's useful in a pinch. But a better method to do a similar thing is what's called an instant air dash. Air dashing in Deadlock has a unique property that we talked about a little bit before. The air dash will accelerate you up to a speed, but at the end of the air dash, you lose 20% of the speed gained. This slowdown happens the instant the air dash ends, but this slowdown can be avoided with instant air dashing. If you press jump and dash at the exact same time, your character will perform an air dash, but this air dash will be as close to the ground as physically possible. If you start a slide immediately out of your instant air dash, your slide will start happening before the 20% speed penalty of the air dash can be applied. So your air dash will generate the maximum possible speed, and then your slide will carry 100% of that speed instead of just 80% of it. But even the tiniest amount of height difference will ruin your instant air dash. Time your IAD just slightly wrong, and you will still lose 20% of your speed. Tiny curbs like like this can also ruin your IADs. Just this tiny amount of extra height will force you to still incur the 20% penalty. But if you don't need any height and you just need pure speed, IADs are very powerful. They only cost 1 stamina and they can sometimes let you slide out of a dash with more speed than just a regular dash slide. IADs also allow you to fire your weapon throughout the entire duration of the dash, whereas grounded dashes prevent you from firing your gun. So these are very useful in combat. IADs are also just like air dashes, which means they are additive to your current speed, unlike grounded dashes which set your speed to a fixed amount. You can also B-hop into IADs. Gain some speed, but instead of B-hopping, do an IAD right afterwards. Your IAD will be much faster than a regular B-hop. Stamina Mastery increases the distance of your air dashes, but regardless of how far your air dashes travel, the amount of time it takes to complete an air dash will always stay the same. So if your air dashes take you farther, they also travel faster. So with Stamina Mastery, doing an instant air dash is pretty much always faster than dashing along the ground normally. So assuming you don't need any height, doing an IAD into a slide is basically the fastest movement option you have along the ground at all times while you have the item Stamina Mastery. And remember, an IAD is an air dash, so you need to angle it in the same way that you would angle a normal air dash to get the maximum amount of speed possible. The timing's pretty tricky, needing to press space and shift at the exact same time can be tough, but luckily there's a bind for that. If you use a bind that looks like this in your auto-exec file, you can do an IAD at the press of a button. Now, I didn't make this bind, and I also have no idea how it works. If you're interested in how it works, then hopefully someone who understands will have left a comment on this YouTube video to do my job for me. Now, there's a few miscellaneous things I want to bring up that I didn't really know where to fit into the rest of the video, so I'm just going to drop them here. Something I've sort of brushed over for the entire video so far is that Deadlock has airdrag. Airdrag causes you to lose some of your speed over time while you're airborne. If you've played other Source games, this might sound completely insane to you. If you get a huge amount of speed in, say, Team Fortress 2, you can keep that speed forever so long as you don't touch the ground and you don't slam into anything. But in Deadlock, that is not the case. If you do not strafe or press any movement keys, you will eventually slow down to 0 speed. You lose around 20% of your speed every second, which means the faster you're going, the more of an effect airdrag has on your character. So maintaining your speed indefinitely in Deadlock is quite literally impossible. Anything that adds to our speed also adds to our airdrag. So maintaining your speed ends up being a balancing act of gaining speed often, minimizing airdrag, and minimizing slide friction. Remember that air dash speed penalty we've talked about a few times? That speed loss is considered a part of air drag, which is why instant air dashes are so powerful. They keep you from encountering this air drag because you're sliding before the air drag can be applied. And when you crouch off of a zipline, you receive 2 seconds of immunity from air drag, which is why zip dashing works. You crouch off of the zipline and then dash within this 2 seconds of air drag immunity. This prevents the 20% speed loss from the dash, and it also means that the speed you gained is kept for the entire duration of those 2 seconds. And when you get a tick perfect zip dash, that enormous boost in speed is kept for those 2 seconds. Zip dashing is the only way to avoid air drag while in the air. The only other way to avoid air drag is, of course, to not be in the air, which is why we do the slide hopping that we talked about at the beginning of the video. The friction with the ground while sliding is slightly less speed loss than the speed loss of air drag. But if you hold your slide for too long, the speed loss gets substantially worse than air drag, which is why we jump out of our slides after a little bit of time. Another random thing I want to talk about is these vents around the map. There's 2 vents in particular that are super close to these walls. On these 2 vents, you can actually wall jump the wall immediately after taking the vent, which will interrupt the vertical component of the launch and will give you a huge burst of horizontal speed. The timing of your wall jump is pretty difficult, but how you approach the vent doesn't really matter as long as you're close enough to the wall to do a wall jump after you touch the vent. Also, on this side of the map, you need to hold A while you do the wall jump, otherwise you crash into the side building. These are kind kinda hard to do, but they're very learnable with practice. Another miscellaneous piece of tech is Mantlestrafing. When you mantle a wall and hold crouch, you will instantly start a slide. But you can slide in any direction in an 180-degree cone of the wall that you mantled. If you want to go 90 degrees to the right, you want to aim your mouse a tiny bit to the left and then hold D as you mantle slide, and do the opposite if you want to mantle strafe to the left. Any angles shallower than 90 degrees can be achieved by just facing the direction you want to go and holding W. And remember these edge boost spots we talked about from before, where you vault the wall to get an auto edge boost? You can also mantle strafe into the edge boost. Look slightly toward the direction you want to go, mantle the fence, then look slightly away from that angle and start mantle strafing. Then time your edge boost perfectly and you will edge boost gracefully away into the air, and you will carry the speed from the mantle strafe as you do so. These are pretty tricky to do, but they're insanely powerful and they cost 0 stamina. And finally, Deadlock has bunny hopping. A significantly nerfed form of it, but bunny hopping nonetheless. In older Source games, you could bunny hop to gain speed infinitely, but with Deadlock's low strafe speeds, combined with the existence of airdrag, bunny hopping is extremely bad for trying to gain speed. But if you already have speed, it can be useful to maintain that speed in a pinch. This is worse than slide hopping most of the time, but you can't slide hop up a slope, so b-hopping up the slope is a good way to maintain your speed when slide hopping won't quite work. You do need to time those b-hops manually though. In other Source games, you can bind jump to scroll wheel to get b-hops basically for free, but scroll wheel b-hopping in Deadlock doesn't really work, because scroll wheel jumping will repeatedly eat your double jump and then eat all of your stamina bar. B-hopping is super niche on most of the characters, but if you're playing Celeste, it can be somewhat effective. You can kinda bunny hop around and gain speed because of her anti-grav and increased air control, although this is much slower than just using your stamina bars, so you only ever really want to do this to save your stamina. You can also get a similar effect if you buy the item Magic Carpet because of its passive stats. And speaking of items, the item Magic Carpet gives you increased air control and makes gravity affect you less. This is the exact same stats that Celeste has by default, so buying this item essentially gives any character in the game Celeste's movement. But this item does stack with Celeste's passive, meaning buying it on Celeste makes you insanely floaty and lets you turn on a dime, which is really fun to do and also not even slightly worth spending 6,400 on. But Majestic Leap is where the real fun begins. Majestic Leap's active gives you a huge diagonal jump into the air. You then get this drop down option until you hit the ground. Pressing the Majestic Leap button again will give you a huge secondary burst of speed diagonally downwards. This second burst of speed can be interrupted with a double jump, so you can convert the downward speed into horizontal speed for huge amounts of extra distance. Keep in mind though that Majestic Leap's speed cannot be kept into a slide. If you try and slide immediately after using Leap, then it will eat all of your speed the instant you touch the ground. This also prevents you from keeping the speed by bunny hopping. So instead, if you want to maintain the speed, try to stay in the air as long as possible, using your double jumps and wall jumps. The item also gives you a shield, and you have increased air control for as long as the shield is active, letting you turn much more sharply in the air. The drop down can also be saved by certain character abilities, like Pocket's Barrage. You can save the drop down for as long as the barrage keeps you floating in the air. But there are other ways to store the Majestic Leap drop down. Holding onto a rope will store the drop down until you touch the ground again, so you can stall it out on a rope for as long as you feel like. But you can also store the drop down effect indefinitely, and it's very easy to do. All you need to do is use Majestic Leap, then hit the ground again immediately afterwards. If you touch the ground within 0.4 seconds of using Majestic Leap, you will store the Majestic Leap's secondary drop down effect for as long as you want. This stored drop down will only go away if you leave the ground and then touch it again. But as long as you don't touch the ground for a second time, this will stay usable permanently. A stored drop down lets you dash jump and then drop down into a double jump for a huge burst of speed. Or you can drop down off of a wall jump for a similar effect. Storing the drop down can be done in a bunch of very easy ways. You can cram yourself underneath something low like this to store the leap automatically just by pressing the button. You can do it under low ceilings and doorways by Majestic Leaping and then immediately down dashing. You can also do it with any staircase anywhere in the map. Simply Majestic Leap and then dash instantly towards the slope. And you can even store the Majestic Leap on completely flat ground, but the execution is kinda tricky. You need to jump, Majestic Leap, then down dash as fast as possible. If you time it all right, you will store the Majestic Leap's drop down. Now this might sound super useless, but it has its niche use cases. Majestic Leap has this pesky downside, where it goes on cooldown for 5 seconds whenever you take damage from an enemy hero. This is to prevent it from being an overpowered getaway option. You don't want people just disappearing into the sky the moment someone tries to fight them. But interestingly enough, this cooldown only applies to the initial part of the leap. The drop down can be used whenever you want. The stored leap can also be used while carrying the urn, while the initial leap can't. It's still a very niche piece of tech to know, but it can be useful in a pinch. I changed this while I was editing the video. You can leap with the urn now if you want. You just press the button, you just press it, you just press the button, you fly away. Now, Majestic Leap has interactions with other heroes, but we'll get to those a little bit later. Melee Charge is an item that you would usually not think of as a movement item. But secretly, Melee Charge is one of the most versatile movement items in the entire game. This item gives your heavy melees 50% extra distance. And much like Stamina Mastery, this increase in distance also increases the speed of the heavy melee. Using heavy melees in your movement is very common in Deadlock, to give you just that extra little bit of distance that you needed to reach a ledge or platform. With Melee Charge, your melees can reach even further, opening up a ton more movement routes around the map. This item is also insane for escaping bad fights with tricky movement. Your heavy melees can fly you around in all sorts of creative ways that can get you away from a chasing enemy. And since the item's super cheap, I legitimately don't understand why more gun characters don't just buy this purely for the movement potential. And there's also these items that allow you to perform a tech called a heavy melee cancel. If you use the item's active during your heavy melee animation, the item will cancel the heavy melee instantly, leaving you completely actionable after the cancel. This is super useful in combat for obvious reasons, but it's also very useful for movement, especially when combined with Melee Charge. You can use this to cover enormous distances in the air, stamina free. It is still a heavy melee, so you're not going to be gaining a bunch of speed in the air doing this, but if 2 heavy melees can reach a ledge, heavy melee cancelling can get you there in a way that no enemy will ever expect. Stamina Mastery is another item that greatly affects your movement, and we've talked about it a bit already. It increases the speed and distance of your air dashes and double jumps, and it allows you to air dash and double jump twice before touching the ground. This essentially makes everything that you do with dashing significantly more powerful, and it makes the more mobile characters even more mobile. Instant air dashing with Stamina Mastery is practically always faster than doing a dash jump. And finally, there's Warpstone, an item that teleports you in the direction you're facing. The teleport doesn't carry any of your velocity. If you're traveling fast and use the Warpstone, it will reset all of your speed. But you can dash immediately after Warpstoning to get more speed out of the Warpstone. Now, items are good and all, but what's even more interesting is what each specific character can do with their movement. Movement is important on every character in the game. Even the slowest and clunkiest characters still depend on their movement. But some characters are obviously more movement focused than others, ranging from very obviously movement focused to slightly more subtly movement focused, and even movement related characters that you might not really think about. Let's start with the obvious. This is Celeste. And she's a little bit of a freak. She has increased air control and lower gravity. This is completely permanent, no abilities required. Her base walk speed is very low, but simply jumping and wiggle strafing around will give you a huge amount of speed that no other character can really rival without spending stamina or cooldowns. She can slide hop literally forever just by strafing while she's in the air and sliding while she's on the ground. And she can sort of just jump and wall jump around to get speed out of nowhere basically for free. And when she has items like Stamina Mastery, a good Celeste is practically uncatchable by anyone other than maybe a Holliday. And speaking of which, Holliday has these jump pads that she can place down. When you or your teammate takes one of these jump pads, you gain massively increased air control, even faster than Celeste, to the point where even from a standstill, you can just strafe to gain enormous amounts of speed for free. Characters like Holliday and Celeste essentially make your movement fundamentals even more powerful. Grey Talon gets dramatically increased air control while he's in his fly, and while he's in his fly, he can dash as many times as he wants in the air, so long as he has the stamina to do so. Apollo's disengaging sigil gives him a big burst of knockback in the opposite direction of the cast. If you're touching a wall while you cast a spell, you can do a wall jump right as the sigil explodes, which will give you even more speed out of your disengaging sigil than usual. And since you can now redirect your knockback with this ability, these sigil wall jumps can come in handy to escape from people unexpectedly. There's also Lash, who can press 2 to grapple into the air off of friendly or enemy targets. If you want less height, you can dash to cancel your ascent early. Lash's ult usually leaves him completely stationary while he's in the air, but if you zip dash and then immediately press 4, you will travel through the air in your ult, which can allow you to collect way more enemies with it than would normally be possible. When playing Shiv, pressing M2 will fire a huge shotgun blast, and this shotgun blast will give him knockback in the opposite direction to where he's facing. This shotgun blast works in a super interesting way. Unlike other characters who have movement tech that adds to their speed, Shiv's shotgun has a penalty when fired in the opposite direction to your current speed. If I take the vent and then fire behind me, firing the shotgun resets my speed down to basically walking speed. To avoid this, I must fire at an angle perpendicular to the direction I'm traveling. Doing this will add to my speed instead of taking away. And this can be used in a variety of different ways. You can use this to get increased height off of your wall jumps. If you jump at a wall, then press M2 and then jump immediately afterwards, you'll get a big wall jump. You need to M2 slightly before wall jumping, or your speed gets eaten much like before. You can also use the shotgun during your slides. Slide along the ground, aim at a right angle away from the direction you're traveling, and fire your M2. Doing this not only gives you a big burst of speed, but it also resets to slide drag timing, so you can slide for longer before needing to jump. Because sliding gives you infinite ammo, you can chain these M2 slide jumps forever, so long as you have the space to do so, which makes Shiv very nimble at rotating around the map. Now, Venator also has a shotgun. His second ability is a huge shotgun blast that does knockback to enemies and to himself. This ability works exactly the same as Shiv's M2, but with one key difference. Venator's shotgun doesn't affect him at all while he is on the ground, so you can't use the shotgun from a standstill, and more importantly, you can't use it during a slide. But in the air, it will still knock you back, so off of vents and off of wall jumps, it works in the exact same way as Shiv's shotgun. Venator's shotgun knocking back enemies also allows those enemies to surf the shotgun shot. If an enemy holds crouch as they are shot by the shotgun, they will instantly start a slide at an incredibly high speed in the opposite direction. This is hard to do in a real match, and if you encounter a slope, that will eat all of your slide anyway. But a very attentive enemy can easily crouch in the Venator's face for a free escape. If you jump as you're shot, you can surf the shotgun too, although on characters other than Celeste, this is relatively useless. Abrams has a charge that makes him travel pretty fast. This can be used on the ground and in the air. The charge can be used to instantaneously change your direction of travel while in the air. You can also cancel the charge mid-air to keep the speed of the charge and chain it into double jumps and wall jumps. Vyper's 3 increases her slide distance and speed by a lot, and it also lets her slide up slopes, something that no other character in the game can do. Sliding down a slope accelerates Vyper just like normal, but sliding up a slope works in a very strange way. It will fix your slide speed at whatever it was when you first contacted the slope. If you slide into the bottom of a slope really fast, then you will climb the slope extremely fast. But if you slide into the bottom of the slope really slowly, you will continue to slide up the slope at a snail's pace. In certain spots, Vyper can chain slides up and down slopes to keep sliding forever. And since sliding gives you infinite ammo, you can also fire forever while doing this, which can be very powerful. Both Pocket and Sinclair have an ability in their kit that allows them to teleport. But unlike Warpstone, this teleport maintains all of their velocity after the teleport. This lets you do some interesting things, like zip dashing far away from a zipline, or using a vent to take you to a new place. Paradox has her 3 ability. The ability says move speed increased while charging, but this is a huge understatement. Instead, when the ability is fully charged, your character moves as if time is moving faster for you. Your dashes don't go any further, but they're completed much faster. Your air excel is increased, and you jump much higher. It also makes you travel on ziplines faster, and with zipline speed boost and base guardians dead, you can travel across the entire map on a zipline in about 1 second. The slide drag window is also shorter while it's charged, which makes Paradox Carbine movement extremely weird to do. It messes with all of your muscle memory in a major way. Holding mouse 2 while the carbine is charged will instead slow you down in time. This only works in the air though. Now that's all of the more easy to explain movement characters gotten out of the way. But now let's get to the really crazy stuff. Mina has an umbrella, and when holding mouse 2 to zoom in, she will float in the air while the button is being held. She can strafe around while doing this, which can make her very nimble at rotating around the map with Walljumps and Cornerboosts. However, this float only lasts for 4 seconds, after which you start getting accelerated towards the ground. But this acceleration has a very funny quirk. That quirk being that the acceleration is infinite. It will accelerate you towards the ground, and it will keep accelerating you forever until you touch the floor. Stalling in the air while being accelerated downwards like this is easier than you might think. Simply sliding along a wall and then wall jumping rhythmically can keep you in the air for a very long time. Combine this with double jumps to stall out for even longer. Stalling for as long as physically possible will make you plummet towards the ground like a speeding bullet. And best of all, you can redirect this speed. Stall in the air while holding mouse 2. Then after a little while, use your double jumps to hover above some sort of sloped surface. Once you're over the slope, let yourself fall. Then hold crouch and jump the very instant you touch the ground. If you did it right, this will send you absolutely flying in the direction the slope was facing. The longer you stall in the air, the faster this will make you go. But falling faster will also make the timing of the jump input much more difficult. This can be done from stationary, floating above an object like this, but you can also incorporate this into regular movement routes. Here's an example. Take this vent, stall in the air with double jumps and wall jumps as you travel forwards. Then set up above this staircase in mid, and then fly across the map like a freight train. This piece of tech is so absurd that it is possible this gets patched in the future. So maybe don't get too attached to it for now. Although it is a Valve game after all, they might just leave it in. There's a whole bunch of insane shit you can do in other Valve games, so who knows? Then there's Viscous. Viscous has an ability called Puddle Punch that spawns a giant fist on the wall that punches outwards after a short delay. This punch does knockback to enemies and allies, including Viscous himself. You can use this in a variety of different ways to fling yourself around the map. Simply placing a Puddle Punch on a wall and then rolling away from it will give you a huge burst of speed in that direction. This is extremely powerful for escaping and also engaging fights, and it's the easiest punch tech to use in a real match. You can also do a similar thing by rolling across the Puddle Punch while it's on the ground. This can be done in more places, but doesn't give you nearly as much speed. There's also Puddle Punch double jumps. If you jump, place a punch on the floor, and then jump again, you get a big vertical speed boost. You need to jump before placing the punch. Jumping before placing it lets you double jump in the air, but placing it and then jumping prevents your double jump from ever coming out. You can also do this with wall jumps. Jump, Puddle Punch the wall, then wall jump. This one is also your bread and butter as Viscous. It gives huge amount of speed, but it also gives you quite a lot of height, allowing it to be used in spots where dashing away from the punch wouldn't quite work. You can also place a Puddle Punch next to a vent and then take the vent right as it goes off to absolutely nuke yourself across the map. These look much harder to time than they actually are, so go practice. The Puddle Punch hitbox is enormous, so the timing is very lenient. Just these few things will have you absolutely flying around as Viscous. And they're not particularly hard to do either, but there's even more crazy stuff that Viscous can do. With the item Majestic Leap, you can Puddle Punch on a wall high above you, then Majestic Leap in front of it to combine the knockback and catapult yourself across the map. Doing this is pretty gimmicky, but it gives Viscous easily the fastest rotations of any character in the entire game. And those rotations get even faster when we include the cube. Viscous's second ability turns himself or an ally into a cube, which makes the target invulnerable and heals them. If you become a cube on a slope, you will accelerate down the slope until you touch a flat surface again, and the cube can accelerate super fast down these bigger slopes, much faster than a regular slide could ever manage. But the cube's slide is sort of cheated in by Valve. There's just a check in the code that says if the last surface you touched was a slope and you turn into a cube, you're accelerated in the direction of that slope until you touch a flat surface again. But there's a problem with this check that you might have noticed. It checks if the last surface you touched was a slope. It does not check if you are currently touching one. So if you stand on a slope, leave the ground, then turn into a cube, you will be accelerated in the direction of the slope until you touch flat ground again. And Puddle Punch can add to this momentum to send you at absolutely ludicrous speeds across the map. The setups are generally simple. Touch a slope, then jump off of the slope without touching any flat ground, then try and use your Puddle Punch off of a wall or floor. Puddle Punch wall shots are the best way to do this, but you can technically do it with a Puddle Punch double jump or a dash punch. They're just a bit less effective. This unlocks some super creative routes, and you can do this while carrying the urn, by the way, which makes Viscous maybe the best urn carrier in the entire game. Now this cube tech can combine with some other stuff we've talked about. Majestic Leap Puddle Punch plus cube can almost fling you from one side of the map to the other. Keep in mind that Majestic Leap eats all of your slide speed, so you need to double jump and wall jump to keep this ludicrous speed. And Magic Carpet's lower gravity can combine on top of that to allow the cube to accelerate through the air for even longer. There's also the item Echo Shard that lets you cube yourself twice in the air, which combined with everything else gives you the single fastest method to travel from one side of the map to the other in the entire game. Other than Mirage, I guess, but that's boring, isn't it? Then of course, there's Viscous's ultimate, the ball. He turns into a ball and rolls around like a freak. I won't spend too much time talking about the ball because it's a whole different beast that many other YouTubers have dedicated entire videos towards. But one neat feature of the ball is that your puddle punches have increased effect on you while you're in the ball. So you can puddle punch and ball in combination to fly around in all sorts of ridiculous ways. Now these are the characters with more noticeable movement things going on. But there's one more character in the roster that has a great effect on movement that you might not initially think of as a movement character. There's this guy, and his name's Doorman, and he's a huge, evil piece of shit, to be honest. And his ultimate ability sends enemies to the parkour dimension, the Baroness Hotel, where you have to get to the exit door within 6.5 seconds, or else you take a heavy hit of damage. Escaping this room as quickly and efficiently as possible is incredibly important. If you don't learn how to do this, then you will die pretty much every time a door player presses this button on you. So here is how you escape the Baroness Hotel. A simple dash jump is the easiest way to escape the Baroness, but if you dash jump into a wall jump, this is a whole lot faster and is more possible even on the heavier characters. If you do lack a tiny bit of distance at the very end of your movement string, you can heavy melee your way through the door to save just a tiny bit of extra time. Throw in a corner boost on this wall and you'll be flying out of there in no time. But most of the time you find yourself in Doorman's ult, you won't have the stamina to do a dash jump. His ult at tier 1 drains one of your stamina before you even get to move, and Doorman players will often intentionally ult you after you've used some of your stamina, so you need to know how to get out of here in just one stamina bar. The fastest way I've found to do this on any character is to wall jump this side wall, then heavy melee on top of this part of the roof, then mantle slide and slide jump, then air dash to the exit. Even if you enter the Baroness with 0 stamina, doing this first part will give you time to regen 1 stamina to be able to air dash to the exit. If you have stamina mastery, there's a method To Escape the Baroness incredibly quickly in a single stamina bar. You can instant air dash, then corner boost this wall to fly towards the end with 1 stamina used. This is pretty difficult to do, and it isn't all that fast without stamina mastery. But if you're able to hit it and you have the items to accommodate it, this is the fastest method to escape the Baroness that doesn't require a dash jump. If you're a character with some movement ability, then you can use that to fly towards the end of the ult in a very short amount of time. But that does cost the cooldown of whatever ability you're using, so it's still very important to know how to do it without. And of course, there's practically an infinite number of ways to escape the Baroness. These are just the methods that I have found most useful in my games. This is how the Doorman affects his enemy's movement, but Doorman himself has a few movement things of his own going on. Doorman has a portal gun. He can place 2 doors at different locations on the map to seamlessly connect those 2 locations. Any speed you carry through the door will also be carried out of the other side of the door, exactly how you might expect it to. Which means that items that give a big burst of speed, such as Majestic Leap, can be used to fly through the doors incredibly quickly. So here's the setup. Place a door on the enemy side of the map, right next to where people might walk up to farm the minions. Then go underneath your own walker. And when you see someone on the minimap, Majestic Leap towards this wall, then place your other door to fly through it super fast, and kidnap them back through your door underneath your walker. This is extremely gimmicky, as you can imagine, but it's extremely flashy when you do manage to hit it. It also makes people very upset. I completely stole this idea from SteezyCat on YouTube, so go check him out because he's a much better doorman than I am. And speaking of SteezyCat tech, did you know that the doorman can drift? Doorman has this cart. On cast, it carries any enemy hit in the direction it's travelling until it ends or hits a wall. But the Doorman also has an alternate casted cart. This blue cart doesn't hit enemies, but it instead hits your teammates. Now, normally, you can't use the blue cart on yourself, but if you throw the blue cart through a door, it suddenly becomes able to hit you. So positioning your doors to aim the cart at yourself can allow you to carry yourself away at super fast speeds. And this has been lovingly dubbed as drifting. There's a more seamless way to do this than aiming at 2 doors though. If you look straight down and throw the blue cart right as you walk through the door, you can cart yourself just by walking in a straight line. The timing's a bit precise, but it's very doable in a real match. And again, SteezyCat is the guy who I stole this idea from, so go and check him out because he's a very creative player. Now, as a small note at the very end of the video, Deadlock also has jump maps. Much like other Source games have their own form of movement game modes. There's not very many just yet, but they're accessible with the Deadlock mod manager. There's more generalized movement maps, then there's maps designed to be completed with no stamina, and there's maps that are designed to practice specific characters' movement tech. They do remind me a whole lot of TF2 jump maps when they were in their infancy. You can just tell that there's going to be an entire community designed around speedrunning these maps, and they're a super fun way to practice the game's movement. I definitely recommend you check them out. Now this is everything that I know about Deadlock's movement, but there's a little caveat I need to address. Deadlock is technically in a closed beta. A closed beta with hundreds of thousands of players with access, but a closed beta nonetheless. This means that there is not a chance that this video covered everything there is to know. There are things that haven't been discovered yet. There are things that will get added or removed in the future, and there are things that I just straight up didn't know about. So this video, at some point, will become outdated. Deadlock is very regularly updated, and they do make movement related changes every once in a while, but the bulk of the video will likely remain the same, especially the movement basics part. So if you're watching this in the future, make sure to take everything I say with a little pinch of salt. Now, to end off my Deadlock movement video, I thought I'd leave you with a little bit of a clip dump of all the clips that I've taken while playing Deadlock. In the grand scheme of things, I'm very new to this game, but I've been having so much fun playing it that I've already clipped a whole bunch of random garbage. And I'm just going to show you all of the most interesting clips. And I hope you enjoy. Watching this walker, see this truck? There's a door on the truck. That's how we run away. And now we take the door. Wait, actually, we take this Wraith with us as well. We take this Wraith with us too.
Where did you go?
Yo, I ain't talking.
Oh my god, big bag! What the fuck? What the fuck? behind him. What's this? Hello, dickhead.
This character's fucking stupid.
He really is.
I think
Ram.
Wraith
Kill
broke
this
my
guy?
bind. Where? Oh fuck, I can come.
He's under the walker. He's under the blue walker.
I'm just not even gonna bother.
I have no damage though. Oh, he's died to a bird.
Dynamo is so low.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
I parried him. I parried him on the farm. He's rolled. Yes!
Goodbye. Get on the rope.
I'm nuking.
Wait, I'm coming.
I'm nuking. Oh my god!
You're winning that fight?
Yeah! I do so much damage. I'm gonna end right now. I'm nuking. You need to punch it. You need to punch it. You need to punch it. This is so dumb. So stupid. Oh yeah. Ooh. Oh my god, you're so good. You're so good at the game. Holy, you're insane. What the fuck?
No, it didn't.
My game is lagging the fuck out.
Everyone's lagging so bad.
Yeah, I think it's
My
the.
game's gonna crash.
Yeah,
Where am I?
This isn't. I'm shooting the Kelvin. I'm shooting the Kelvin. I'm killing him.
Arr.
Oh, I'm back.
Punched him. We're back.
Yeah, I think that happened to everyone. That was weird.
Yeah.
I hear the.
She's under a walker. the Wraith's
No
under a
way.
walker.
You're
Guys.
winch. I'm coming to you.
I need to go. Yeah, she's dead as
Where is
fuck.
she? Where is she?
Right here. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? I'm being old. Oh. Nice.
One's dead.
I'm catching him.
One's in green.
He's dead as hell. He's dead on my screen. He's dead on my screen. Some chungus.
I love you, Pocket.
Oh.
He's a move. Wait, he's a movement demon. That guy.
Oh, I can't spend it.
It's gonna get the back door in like 2 seconds.
What if we mid bust?
I grab Borden. Don't die. Ok.
Oh.
Love you, Seven. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Penis Warlock. Yeah.
What do you love penis warlocks?
I just think it's really funny. Do you know what it comes from? Do you know what it comes from? There's an old, super old actor and stuntman called Dick Warlock, and that's his real name.
No way.
Yeah, Google Dick Warlock. He played Michael
I'm not
Myers.
googling that.
Actually, no, I'll just stay with me.
It's just gonna kill.
He
Just let me
walked
ride.
back. I think. We need to get the
Rem's
back
fucking dead.
Huh?
Oh my god. Bro, what is your deal?
I do so much damage.
Nice bunny, bro. Holy shit.
Would you like to be a bunny, you fucking bitch? And then I Majestic Leap away. I stole his ult. He's a bunny.
I missed. Oh.
May as well ult him. Oh!
Oh, dude. Oh my god.
Shoot it. Shoot it. Is she diveable? Put me in. Put me in.
Yeah.
We can take shrines as well. No, me and Slash are gonna take shrines too.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Bunny movement! No, she ulted. No. Oh! What the fuck just happened? I'm definitely dead. I'm actually a beast. Never mind.
Just the word in...
I fucking love this build. It's so dumb. What? 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 What just happened to me? I actually, that saved my life. Clipping out of bounds saved my life. I clipped out of bounds. Help! There she goes. She's in the wall. She's out of bounds.
You just killed her from the game.
I deleted her from the game.
Thank you, Doorman. W?
I fucking love Doorman. Oh, she's dead.
Oh, okay.
Yo, can you say cheesy Michael?
Cheesy Michael. Cheesy Mike. That guy's Scottish, by the way. The guy in the video is Scottish, not English. So fuck you.
I can't tell.
Fuck you,
I can't
buddy.
tell, bro.
Fuck you, stupid American. Fuck you, buddy.
How
Fuck
do
you.
see?
Fuck
How hot is
you,
it, bro?
buddy.
Is it hot over there? Is it hot?
It's really fucking hot,
I'm
actually.
so cold, bro. I'm so cold here.
Thanks for watching.